Hello, and welcome to episode 11. I believe we're in episode 11. Today we have a special topic. Today's topic is around the college recruiting process and how it differs from division by division, Division I, D2, D3, and NAIA. Now, we have a panel today that consists of all college coaches and different levels of playing as well. So at the D3 level, we have Coach Matt Bisceglia, who's at the University of Pittsburgh, Greensburg. We have Coach Mark Duffield, who's at Penn State in Kensington. We have at the Division II level, we have Zach Kruker, who's at Seton Hill University. We have Sam Gribowicz, who is at California University of Pennsylvania, or Cal U. We have Steve Rerick, who's at Slippery Rock University. And at the D1 level, myself at Robert Morris University. And we have special guests and former GK Icon Pittsburgh goalkeeper coach Mark Sappington, who is now with Campbell University in North Carolina. And I will also cover the NAIA, as I do have experience with the NAIA recruiting policies from my experience at Point Park. But let's get right at it, guys. Coach Sappington, welcome to the panel. Appreciate you being on here, sir.
I appreciate y'all having me. I'm excited to get involved a bit more with y'all. I had a great time in my years in Pittsburgh working with GK Icon, and I'm excited to kind of continue the process. So thanks for having me.
You're up there with Coach Duffield and Coach Bisceglia, 5, 6 years, 7 years experience with GK Icon. So it's great to have you back, man.
Appreciate it.
Well, let's start with you. Let's talk about, you just moved from Slippery Rock University, Division II women's school or women's team. Now you're at Campbell University in North Carolina, Division I school. What do you see as the biggest differences from a recruiting standpoint from a D2 to a D1 level?
Well, just with some rules NCAA has passed in the last year or so has changed some things drastically as far as communication timeline, evaluation timeline, those type of things. And that's kind of been the biggest difference from my move from Division II institution to a Division I institution, as far as when we're allowed to reach back out and make contact, and when that process is allowed to start.
And just for our viewers, that the time frame can start when? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So for Division I,
yes,
as a junior or a senior, we're allowed to have that communication back and forth. You're allowed to come in and we can meet on campus, we can meet in the office, all those type of things. Prior to that, we really can't have any communication. The only communication we can have is, hey, these are the rules. I'm sorry, we can't talk right now. If you're interested, here's our camps, and that's really about it. It's all the communication we're about to have prior to that junior year.
Yeah, and from a Division I standpoint, I see that, and I see that's probably one of the most frustrating pieces from everyone's perspective, is that college students or high school students, who are looking at us, they send emails all the time, and we can't reply. Like, we literally cannot reply. And I think that's one of the most frustrating pieces, but that needs to be communicated out there so everyone knows that and understands that. Zach, I'm going to go down to you. If I could, talk to me about your process. When are you allowed to start reaching out to potential student athletes? Zach.
All right, I'm muted there. Sorry.
There you go.
Yeah, for Division II, it's a little bit different. That happens through the summer between their sophomore, junior year, June 15th. We can start actually talking to prospective student athletes. They can come on campus. We can talk to them off campus in recruiting. That's kind of, so it's a little bit different than Division I. We can talk to them a little bit earlier.
And let's go to Coach Duffield at your level, Division III. What's the timing there?
Mine's always January 1st, junior year. That's when I start talking to them.
When are you allowed to talk to them?
So that's the period, January 1st, junior year.
Oh, is that right? So you're after the Division I level? Like, we wait until September 1st, junior year, I know. So that Division D3 level, you have to wait until January 1st?
Yeah, I was told I was after January 1st of their junior year. That's when I can start contacting them.
Coach Matt Bisceglia, what about your timing? What do you have with that level? Is anything different from your end? What do you do, and how do you reach out to your student athletes?
Yeah, early stages really is just contact via email or even a text message. It's that informal communication, but it's that junior year period. But other than that, once the senior year hits is when we can start getting them to visits onto our campus and whatnot.
All right. as it's changed a lot, and they use timing. The reason I bring the timing up first, I know that's something that's changed quick, like, in the last year or two, it's changed, right? So, that's very important. I feel that from parents and coaches and also goalkeepers and student athletes, know the timing of each division. Because I feel that's important, and lead to less frustration when looking for feedback from a goalkeeper or from a college. Excuse me. Let's stick with. I'm going to move back up to, let's say, Coach Steve and Coach Sam with D2. When you're recruiting, what is your, not policy from a timing perspective, but how do you reach out to your student athletes? Do you wait for people to reach out to you? Do you attend tournaments? Do you email? Do you call? Like, how do you go about doing it? I know everyone's different. Coach Sam, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, we do a little bit of everything. We look at emails that are coming in from players, whether it's prior to going to a showcase or just during the season in general. We'll also, if we see somebody at a tournament or at a high school game, cup game, wherever it is, we'll reach out to them as well, whether it's by, phone contact, if we do have that information, or by email. So it's a little bit both ways. If we get an email, we'll respond if we see something that we like, and then we'll also be reaching out to players that we just catch when we're out and about, and we'll reach out to them as well about any potential interest.
Coach Steve.
Yeah, so we're kind of the same way with how we recruited Slippery Rock. We get a lot of emails coming in every single day, so we do respond to those. We make it a point to go and look at every single email that we do get. Like Sam said, going to showcases is a big one. If you email us right before the showcase saying, hey, here's my schedule, this is where we're playing, this is when we're playing, we make it a point to go and put that down on a calendar and try and get everyone that emails us, get a coach to that game to go out and see it. And like Sam said, if we see someone that we like, maybe that didn't email us, we can, if it is after that June 15th, before their junior year, we can go up, talk to them after the game, say, hey, we really like what we saw. What do you think about coming on campus? And kind of starting that initial contact.
Coach Sappington, what's your preferred recruiting method? Are you attending these showcases that are now everywhere? Do you go and scout particular people at specific games with their clubs? What do you do to find that player from a D1 level?
Yeah, I think every school across divisions and in the same division, whether it be D1, D2, D3, whatever, everyone's going to have their own little style of what they're going to try to, and their philosophies of recruiting and how they're going to try to get the puzzle piece that works for their team. For us, for me, I will go to a lot of the larger showcases, but I also go to a lot of the smaller showcases. I think it's important to get to watch, teams train, driving if it's not too far away or whatnot, we can go watch some teams train and then see that same team at a showcase or a larger tournament. I think one thing to keep in mind, again, with some of the restrictions is, I know a lot of times it's different per division, but I know a lot of times, like, you'll be at a field or whatnot and somebody will want to come up and say hi to you. And please, if you're listening to this, don't be upset if someone's not overly friendly, because we're not allowed to actually most divisions, most areas are not allowed to have those conversations at the side of the field. So if you are walking across the field and you see a coach and you say, hey, and it's just a very short, hey, hope you're doing well, all the best, that's really all it can be. But to go back to the question at hand, yeah, showcases, we'll watch individual teams train, the smaller ones as well. Also, ID clinics are huge. I think those are a large source. It's a great way to be able to see if you like the coach and you like the campus from a recruit standpoint. And also, it's a good way back and forth. If you don't like the coaching style, you now know that school's not a fit.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you said, that last part, because there's a lot of the school recruiting the player, but the player also has to really like that coaching style. And here's an opportunity to get an upfront, close and personal look at the coaching on how they handle their players, how they run a session. I always encourage the kids I'm talking to, come and check out what we do. Just watch a practice, come to a game, because that's going to give you that inside look that you necessarily wouldn't get if you did not attend or go on a visit. Please, yeah. Coach Saps, go ahead.
from a recruiting standpoint, like if you're the recruit, you have to that school has to fit you all the way around. You shouldn't be going there just for soccer. If you're going there just for soccer, you're going to be miserable in all the other aspects. If you're not happy with the academics, the social aspect, even the type of campus it is, if you're not happy with those things, it's probably more than likely going to affect your play as well. So you have to find a perfect fit for you, all circumferencing fit from a school standpoint.
Nice. Coach Zach, what's the importance of these ID clinics and from a recruiting standpoint for you? Do you host your own ID camp? Do you go to a lot of tournaments? What's your recruiting style?
Yeah, I mean, very similar to what Mark just talked about. I go to a lot of training sessions. You know, I definitely go out and contact other club coaches and ask if I can just come watch a training session if I'm interested in a player on that team. So I try to watch them multiple times prior to even making my first contact with them. I'll host ID clinics, but I also go to other, schools' ID clinics. So I think that's good. There's these like ID clinic combines that you can go to that, a lot of coaches may show up at, and you sit down and watch a couple players. So I've done that in the past. And then, yeah, I think it's get out to tournaments. I mean, I'm an avid tournament goer. I coach club as well, so it fits my schedule pretty easily. I try to combine the two. So if my club team's in, like, let's just say, for example, in like a Bethesda tournament, I'll go coach a game, but then I'll go recruit the rest of the day. So it's kind of like a win-win for me to do both. And, yeah, I just try to get to as many tournaments as I can. I do have a smaller staff, so it is just me doing a lot of recruiting. So it's just important that I'm out as much as I possibly can.
Cool. Coach Duffield and Coach Bisceglia, what are you guys on the road a lot, hitting these tournaments? I mean, you guys must see each other at these tournaments. I'm assuming all of us coaches, you must see each other. And do you run your own ID camp at your school?
Well, I'll speak about us first. We didn't have any ID camps the first couple of years I was there. We had it lined up this year to have the first ever ID camp. Unfortunately, with current situations, it couldn't happen.
Keep going.
Yeah, so unfortunate of that, but I will introduce that next year. Mainly for me, I try and find what I call hidden gems. I like to go to different high schools. I spend a lot of my time in the fall going to high schools, and not just like your big high schools. Sometimes I feel there's a lot of smaller schools that get forgotten about. So I will go and see any school I can in the area. Normally for me, it's a lot of from where I am to Pittsburgh, so 17-mile radius, a lot of the local area. Fortunately, I coach cup soccer as well, so I go out to those tournaments. And I'm finding a lot more now with the Penn State name. We're getting a lot of out-of-state interest now as well.
Coach Matt, elaborate on what you guys do.
Yeah, so something we have to deal with being a branch campus of Pitt is a higher out-of-state tuition. So we really just try to hone in right now on the in-state guys, even more specifically the local guys. Every player on our roster this past season was in and around the Pittsburgh area. So what our thought process, our plan of attack was sort of after this first year was, we will get into the showcases, the tournaments once the season was done, both here in the Pittsburgh area. We went out east a bit to try to tap into that region and, just kind of stretch our reach a little bit farther, just to even stir some interest. Because look, in terms of players that we recruited for next year's class, we had all of our local guys set, and now it was just, can we get those additional players to get out east, make those connections, and just, find players from a different area and just kind of reach farther into the state.
Coach Sam, do you run an ID camp at CalU?
We haven't been. My head coach and I started, came into the program 3 seasons ago. Well, 2 seasons now. So we haven't set up an ID clinic yet, but it's something that we've talked about and something that we'd be interested in doing possibly in the future. So
it's mostly ID tournaments, things of that nature?
Yeah, we also go to high school games as, our fall season allows. So tournaments, club games, club season's huge for us, and, just getting out as much as we can to those sorts of games.
Coach Steve, how about you with the ID camps? Do you Slippery Rock run camps to bring players in, have a look at the campus, and see you guys coach?
Yeah, so at Slippery Rock, I believe it's in between 50 and 75% of our current roster has attended one of our past ID camps. We do one in the winter, which is typically the December 1st timeline, where it's just a one day you come in, hopefully the conditions are good enough where we can go outside. The turf isn't snow covered. But then we have one residential ID camp that is typically in later July, where that's a 3-day residential camp. Guys get to come in, they get to eat on campus, experience what the dorms are like, see different coaches and interacting with them from different divisions. Most of them are all Slippery Rock alumni, so they've been around the program. You get a really good feel for it. But other than, the ID clinics, I think the entire month of February, every single weekend, someone on Slippery Rock staff was going down to the local club showcases because it was every single weekend in February. So a lot of hitting the pavement, trying to go and, like Mark said, kind of find that diamond in the rough, trying to find some of the local talent.
Right on. Let me ask you this, all you, what do you utilize these recruiting services now that are out there? You see a lot of businesses that are looking to help kids or help student athletes connect with connect with the colleges of their interest. Do you advise it? Do you use it? And what's the frequency of use when it comes to those recruiting services? Coach Sappington, can we start with you, please?
Yeah. In my time at Slippery Rock, we actually did not use the services too much. Obviously, we still responded to the recruits or the student athletes that were using them, but it wasn't one of our main sources. With my short time at Campbell so far, we've used them a lot more. As far as just, especially if they're matched with College Fit Finder, if the kids already know, hey, that's a school that fits a lot of my interests already, where we're much more apt to be using it. So it has been a bit more used since I've been here at Campbell.
Coach Steve, you guys use that?
So at Slippery Rock, we use them occasionally. It's a good introduction. That's pretty much the extent of what we use them for. It's great to get that, a couple minutes of game video, but we really want to get to know the athlete on a more personal level, get a conversation with them going. Typically, if we get an email and they show interest, then we'll respond to them. But as far as similar to what Mark said, we don't use them a whole lot, mainly just for an introduction.
Okay. Coach Sam, do you guys utilize those recruiting services?
I'm in the same boat as those two. We get the emails from the recruiting services, just bringing a player to our attention. But that's about it is, then we'll find the information on them, try to reach out personally. So yeah,
Okay.
Pretty much the same. We don't use it too much apart from the emails that are coming in.
Fair enough. Coach Zach, do you guys utilize those services?
So when I was at a D3 school, I used it a lot more. I would use Captain U or something along those lines. I can use on my cell phone. So if I was at a showcase, I was recruiting as many kids as possible. I was at a really small school. Since I moved to Seton Hill, I haven't used it nearly as much. It's more about identifying the right players, kind of similar to what everybody else has said, using that College Fit Finder, trying to find the right type of person who's interested in our school. But on an international level, I use it a lot more. So we do have a couple of internationals in our program. Our men's coach, almost half of his roster is internationals. So I use different stuff for internationals that we bring in because we have to. But that's really the only area that I'm using it right now.
I'm going to get into the international recruiting in a moment. I'm really glad you brought that up because that seems to be something that's becoming more and more popular is international players coming to the United States. So we'll touch on that in a moment.
Okay.
Thank you. Coach Duff, what's your take with the recruiting services?
Me personally, I do use them a lot. I think it's a great introduction. I think it's really good for me personally to kind of cast that net out a lot further because we have a new scholarship type thing for certain states. And it really helps me identify certain players. My one tip for people if they're listening would be make sure you try and put some game film on there. You'll see a lot of profiles and it's just like a name and nothing else. For me as a coach, I would love to see just some sort of clip just to kind of get an idea who the player is and then kind of develop that relationship from there. But yeah, I'm a big user of the recruitment websites.
Cool. Coach Matt.
We're starting to use them. We want to try to benefit from them as much as we can. Kind of like what Coach Zach was saying, the school I'm currently at is also just a smaller school. So our goal is just to reach as many players as possible. but we're very new. The head coach was just finished his first year as the head coach. I'm just finishing my first year as the assistant coach. So we're still kind of getting our feet wet, but we're just getting those created now and trying to benefit from them as much as we can moving forward.
All right. Well done. I think to go back to Coach Duffield's comment about video, everyone has a highlight footage. You know, those Sports Center highlights that you've made over your career. Everyone has that. So to include the video of the actual a half of a game is crucial, because it allows us as goalkeeper coaches or coaches who are recruiting goalkeepers to look for the other things that we won't see during a highlight save. What are your leadership skills? What is your communications style like during that half? Where are you in relation to your back line and keeping that distance short? Do you take control of your box? So that half game or game of film is crucial, because it allows us to see how you work off the ball and how you're communicating and working with your teammates too.
Yeah, just a touch on
go right ahead, Coach.
I do think the services in general are a good value, as far as just because there's 4 or 5 of us coaches here that might not use them effectively, but might not use them to that much. There are over 1,000 NCAA schools out there, and more if you include all the other divisions. There's going to be people out there that do use them extensively. Going off that, I think we do look at the profiles a lot. I look at the profiles a lot from a standpoint of the film aspect that you and Duff talked about as well. So I do think they're a great resource. Any resource you can use to get your play and your communication in front of the coaches you're wanting to get in front of is valuable. So just because some of us here don't use them extensively, there are schools out there that do use them, and it's another way to get your face in front of the coach.
Nice. Let's talk about the international. Zach, I'm going to go back to you if I could. Talk to me about your international recruiting philosophy. You mentioned you use a lot of these types of recruiting services for that, or the men's team at Seton Hill utilizes that. But what's your take on international recruiting? How do you recruit internationally? How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, one of our core pillars at Seton Hill is that we want a very diverse campus, and they are very big on, especially soccer, since it is a very international sport, for our roster to be very diverse. So one of the things that I have to do is try to create that environment for, as many different type of people to come in as possible. So one of the things that we do is we go through different agencies, like, for example, like CSUSA is one that does a lot of internationals from like Scandinavian countries and even into Europe. So we try to really connect and build relationships with those agents, and then they understand the school that we have. We Skype with all those student athletes. Or prospective student athletes. We do a lot of talking with them about our school, the safety of our school, the location, and so they fully understand exactly where in the country they're going and the type of experience that they're going to get. We also have a liaison on Seton Hill's campus that works solely with internationals, so that they're going to be talking to them as well from like an admissions standpoint, so they understand exactly what they're walking into. On top of that, they have to have certain test scores, so that's going to limit the pool of prospective student athletes that we can talk to. So they have to have a certain TOEFL score if they're from a non-English speaking country. Then they have to actually, take an SAT or an SAT as well, and have a certain score on that. So there's a bunch that goes into it. It's a lot of time, a lot of energy. But if you can get a couple kids internationally that can really help your roster, it can kind of set you apart from other schools in your conference.
Coach Bisceglia and Coach Duffield, you both mentioned that your rosters mainly consist of in-state student athletes or and around the immediate area. What's your take on recruiting outside of this area? What are the drawbacks? How come the roster is dominated by local talent? And what's your take on the international pool of candidates?
So for me, internationals, I'm sure it's the same for Matt, but like internationals are pretty much a no-go. Issue we have is the tuition for international students is so high. It's very, very hard to get them to come to us. We have no athletic scholarship to hand them, because if you do have chats with some of the guys and girls, one thing they'll come with, what's the athletic scholarship? Unfortunately, we have zero to offer. So for me, unless they have a high budget and maybe use us as a stepping stone or have real aspirations to go to Penn State, then I personally cannot get international students, or very, very rarely out-of-state kids in the surrounding states, like I previously mentioned about a new scholarship we have I'm getting a lot more of those guys now. But international is pretty much very slim.
Thank you. Coach Matt, can you elaborate on that? Are you in the same boat? What happens with you?
Yeah, we're right there in the same boat. Having zero athletic scholarship at the Division III level kind of puts that to an end. And I think we just the battle of also that for out-of-state guys, because our out-of-state tuition is a higher rate than our in-state tuition. So it's the same thing as that for even a player that would want to be coming in from out-of-state, just because it's going to cost them more. The only scholarship they're going to be getting is any from the academic side of things. So other than that, if there's a player from out of state that contacts us first, we're not going to shut them down. If someone from outside the state is going to show interest, we're going to absolutely, treat it the same way as is, and then just make sure that they are aware of that. But we're never going to turn away a player from our program that's interested.
Well, Coach Sam, Coach Steve, internationals, student athletes at the Division II level with your schools. Do you recruit them? What do you see a different budget for in-state versus out-of-state versus out of the country? Sam, can we start with you?
Yeah, so we also have an in-state versus out-of-state tuition, so that does make it a little bit more difficult for us to get out-of-state players as well as internationals. We had one international student athlete on our roster for the past 2 seasons, and we're trying to bring in more. My head coach did go on an international trip back in February just to try to create a pipeline with some connections that he has. But budget is a very big, factor in our ability to do that. So it does depend, like Mark was saying, about their budget, how much they can spend, and then, how much we happen to have available in our scholarships any given season.
Coach Steve.
Yeah, we're kind of the same way. We need the international students not only to have, good academics, be good on the field, but obviously they have to have that healthy budget as well. We get a lot of kids that reach out to us saying, they can afford $5,000-$10,000 a year, and realistically at Slippery Rock, you're going to need to look at paying it a bare minimum of roughly $17,000, and that's not staying in the residential dorms, that's staying in the more traditional dorms. So there are certain things that we can do on campus, certain things that our campus does for the internationals, like having an in-state tuition reduction for internationals. If they maintain a 3.0, they get an additional scholarship amount. So just maintaining that 3.0, certain things like that helps out their cause financially quite a bit.
Cool. On one more topic that I want to give each you about a minute to discuss, or less than 30 seconds to a minute to kind of wrap up. And I want your final thoughts on this. But at the same time, I do want to talk about the transfer portal. It's another way of, student athletes going from school to school. Coach Sappington, I want to start with you. Do you utilize the portal, and what's your advice for those that are looking to transfer in the usage of the transfer portal?
Yeah, we use the portal a lot, actually, and we use the international recruiting aspects a lot as well. To me, it's all about relationships. You got to build those relationships, whether it's with the scouts with the international companies or on the portal as well. One of the biggest things people have to understand is if you're not on that portal and we don't have a release from your school that you're currently at, we cannot speak to you, period, about anything regarding other than the process, other than the fact that you need to get that release. We do use that portal a lot. It's helpful if you think of it as another recruiting process. Unless you have picked out where you want to go already and it's cut and clean, it's another recruiting process. Do you have film of you? Can you put stuff together? Because it's not that easiest to get to come on campus, have a tryout, all that stuff. So film, and then the people we talk to around you, your club coaches, your current coaches. That's kind of how the whole process goes, and it's all about that relationship aspect.
Well done. Who else? I know we at Robert Morris, we use the portal all the time. Like we're on it all the time, looking for student athletes looking to play at the Division I level, going from D1 school to another. So that's very valuable for us. Coach Zach, how about yourself? Transfer portal use? Do you use it?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I'm on it all the time, just trying to see what my options are. And, we're always trying to find a player that can come in and help us. So if there's someone that's at D1 level that, it's not working out for them, or if they're a grad student, or a senior, the graduate still have a year of eligibility left, I use it for that. We have a couple players coming in that are going to be grad students, and it's just going to be it's just another useful tool for us if we can bring someone in that has a better talent, for 1 or 2 years. So why not?
I know we're in low time, but I still want everyone's opinion on this. Real quickly, Coach Sam, do you use the portal?
We have used it, not too much, but we do keep an eye on it. Look, like Zach was saying, we look who's looking to transfer, who might be an asset to our program, and just trying to keep in mind, the communication, making sure that we're doing everything the right way. But we are, always on the lookout for people in the portal.
Coach Steve, yes, no, do you use the portal?
We keep an eye on it, but not too much.
Okay, fair enough. Coach Duff?
No, I don't use that.
Coach Matt?
Just very early stages. Division III was very recently added to the portal as well, so it's very new to us. And like the recruiting resources, it's the same thing with us.
Yep, fair enough. No, I appreciate that. I do want to give you guys some time because I know we have around 6 minutes left, 5 minutes left. I do want to give everyone about 30 seconds to kind of summarize their feelings on this, because this is one of the topics of conversation I get all the time from parents in regards to recruiting. How do you get yourself noted? When do you start? When do you get on the blah, blah, blah? I get these questions all the time. So I want you guys to literally think, if you can, what's your last piece of advice to a student or a parent who's going to be going through the student-athlete recruiting process? I'm going to go from D1 down to D3, so I'm going to start with Coach Sappington, if I may.
Yeah, I think you could probably have a part B, C, and D of this as well, how much information there is out there. I think the big important thing is run your race. Don't look at all your friends over here committing here, committing there. If your race is your race. If you didn't start until a little later, that's okay. You got to find the place that you need that fits you best. And going off that communication and relationship aspect is huge. I mean, I think all the coaches on here can say they recruit mentality and character almost as much as they're recruiting the ability to pass or shoot a ball or whatever it may be. So you got to be an upstanding person first before all the other things start coming into play as well. So communication, run your own race, and build relationships.
Love it. Love the last part, too, about what you just said. Thank you very much. Coach Zach.
Yeah, I mean, find the best fit for you. Don't try to associate yourself with your friends who they're going D1 or someone else is going D3. Like it's your feeling, it's your school, it's not somebody else's. Try not to commit or be forced to commit. I think you should know when the right time is for you, and in your gut you should know the right place for you. So don't try to end your race too early. Building off what Marco said, don't try to rush the process, but. Most of the kids that I have that commit, they come 4 or 5 times up to campus to meet players and ask questions.
Well done. Coach Sam, continue with the D2. What final thoughts, please?
Just make sure that you're reaching out frequently and as much as possible to coaches. If you're interested, keep emailing them. Keep trying to reach out to them. We get a flood of emails coming in. If we keep seeing the same name pop up and they seem really interested, that might grab our attention. So just be persistent in reaching out and putting yourself in front of them. If you're going to be at a tournament and you see that they're going to be there, reach out to them. Don't worry about sending too much and just, keep at it.
Well done. I like the persistence part. Coach Steve.
Yeah, biggest thing for me is players take responsibility of your own recruiting process. We want to build a relationship with you. We don't want to have our only mode of communication through your parents. Having your parents go and speak to us and getting a relationship with them is fantastic. But we need to build that communication piece with you. We want to see what you are as a player and, what your thoughts are, what you're thinking about.
I love that because I honestly, recruit. You have to recruit parents, but you do need to have that relationship with the kid. I think that's the most important piece. Well said. Coach Matt.
Yeah, maybe just another way to put everything that's been said already, but it's a matter of being proactive rather than reactive. This whole process is in a matter of your own hands. And sure, you may have your current coaches and your parents maybe to help you, but as a player, it's your own decision. It's a matter of your own choices, and be open to anywhere. Obviously, you might know if you want to go far or stay close, but there's quality programs from top to bottom, from any division. So just be open to anything and make sure that you are taking in more of those aspects rather than just soccer or whatever sport it may be for the school.
Cool. Coach Mark, last words.
Great words, Brad. I would say your own journey, visit as many campuses as you can, big, small, urban, countryside, and above all, don't be obsessed with it's not Division 1 or bust. Okay, you can be good at one, 2, 3, or anything in between or anything lower. Okay, it's your own journey. Don't think it's D1 or I'm a nobody. Okay, take them all in.
I love it. I love it, guys. Thank you very much. My final words revolve around this. Do your thing. Find out what you want in a school first, and then find especially if you're goalie, because you might have you falling in love with a specific school, but they already have 4 goalkeepers. You know what I mean? Is that the right place for you? So do your due diligence on the school. Do your due diligence on what you want to study at, big versus small, medium school, as well as the roster. Lastly, ID camps, ID clinics. When you're warming up goalies, take that seriously. The reason I say that is because when I'm a goalkeeper coach recruiting a goalie, it's the only time I'm going to see you get around 100 shots in your hands right before a game. And then during the game, I'm almost more focused on your communication, your connection with the back line, things like that. Always take your warm-up seriously. All your goalkeeper coaches are going to be watching you. Guys, thank you very much. Appreciate all the coaches. Coach Sappington, love having you on. You'll be on again. I can promise you that. At least you get the invite. Whether you accept or not, it's on you. Everyone, thanks again. See you all in the next episode.